I'm going to tell you, and I saw some people say, well, maybe they're talking All-Star Game. Why is her agent there? That is the key.
Caitlin Clark smiling alongside Sabrina Ionescu and Breanna Stewart might look casual, right? But when you spot her agent in the background, it feels like there's more to this story. The footage has fans asking, was this just a post-game chat or the start of a WNBA power move? The WNBA rumor mill is on fire, and for a good reason.
That is what makes this so interesting. That is the key.
And imagine this, the game between the Indiana Fever and New York Liberty was pure chaos. The kind of intensity where every bucket feels like it could shift a career. Players diving for loose balls, heated sideline huddles, and fans losing their minds in the crowd. That's the energy this matchup brought. But as the final buzzer sounded, the post-game scene turned into something else entirely.
Oh, we're going to talk about this little scene that took place after the Fever game last night in New York between Sandy Brondello and Caitlin Clark, the New York Liberty, and the agent.
There was Caitlin Clark, already a superstar, standing with her agent, Erin Kane. Across from her, none other than Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, and Liberty head coach Sandy Brondello. Basically the WNBA equivalent of assembling the Avengers. And let's be real, when the cameras caught that moment, the internet absolutely exploded.
We have just seen the New York Liberty players after the game meeting up with Caitlin Clark. It is Stewie, it is Sabrina Ionescu, there is Sandy Brondello.
Now, you might be thinking, what's the big deal? Players chat after games all the time. Sure, but what makes this moment stand out is Kane. Yes, her agent. She wasn't just lingering awkwardly in the background or off to the side. No, she was front and center, a part of the conversation. That's where things start feeling different. Like, this wasn't some random meet and greet.
When you start seeing the wheels in motion, there's signs. There's signs before eventually a player gets traded, a player eventually marks their next destination. The Indiana Fever, you're on notice.
One source even said they are talking to Caitlin Clark's agent, not just talking to Caitlin Clark. They are talking to Caitlin Clark's agent. So naturally, fans have been dissecting every possible angle. Are we watching some low-key recruitment pitch happen right there in front of everyone's eyes? Or is this just next-level trolling designed to create chatter? Either way, it's working.
You can see, and this is one of the more important things. You see this right here? You see this right here? This is Caitlin's agent. This is Caitlin Clark's agent.
Then there's Caitlin herself in this clip. She's not exactly giving poker face. She's outright glowing, chatting and laughing. Honestly, she looked like a kid meeting their heroes. Except in this case, she is one of the heroes. The happy vibe between her and the Liberty crew wasn't subtle. It was glaringly obvious.
All right, everybody's concentrating on, yeah, by the way, Caitlin Clark looks unbelievably happy talking to these folks. But this is how it starts in sports. This is how it starts in the NFL. This is how it starts in the NBA.
That smile of hers is what's driving people to put on their detective hats, convinced this wasn't just a post-game feel-good moment. Pair that with the presence of teammates like Stewart and Ionescu, who are vocal leaders in the league, and suddenly every word, glance, or subtle gesture feels like breaking news.
All right, that's the key. Her agent's involved. Some representative is involved. That's what they're talking strategy. How many strategy conversations have agents involved in them?
Of course, the footage itself started gaining steam the moment it hit social media. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, you name it, the clip was there. Fans started crafting theories faster than you could blink. Did you see how close Kane was standing to Brondello? That's not an accident, said some. Others are already trying to translate Caitlin's smile into Morse code. Okay, maybe not that extreme, but you get the point. The buzz is real, and it's everywhere.
Sabrina, we got the agent, we got Stewie, we got Caitlin Clark looking like I ain't seen her this happy all year. Right here. I ain't seen her. And look at Sandy. Sandy's grinning with her hand on Caitlin's shoulder.
But here's where it really pops off. The Liberty have been vocal in wanting Caitlin Clark. If you're reading between the lines, and let's be real, who isn't, this feels way too calculated to pass off as coincidence. And while everyone involved has kept tight-lipped, the involvement of Kane, that's the piece that makes people stop and say, wait a minute.
So Caitlin Clark's agent is involved in, meeting up with, or in this meeting, whatever it is, whether it's a meeting or just a chat, Caitlin's agent is there. That's her freaking agent, looks like it.
Let's start with the obvious. The New York Liberty aren't your average WNBA franchise. Their roster could practically double as an all-star team. You've got Sabrina Ionescu, the sharpshooting guard who can dunk on your hopes and dreams with just a step-back three. Then there's Brianna Stewart, arguably one of the most dominant players the league has ever seen.
I think this is very much just friendly talk. Because let's be real, there is absolutely no animosity between Brianna Stewart and Caitlin Clark, or obviously Sabrina and Caitlin Clark. Like, Sabrina was Caitlin before Caitlin in terms of they despise Sabrina.
Add in Jonquel Jones and Betnijah Laney, and you've got a group that screams championship, or at least deep playoff runs every single year. For anyone paying attention, it's clear why a player like Caitlin Clark would find the Liberty so appealing. The infrastructure is there, the stars are there, and let's not forget, they've got the wins to back it up.
Lads, there is a WNBA team that have been very, very, very much in, they made it clear that they want Caitlin Clark, or they're eventually going to want Caitlin Clark. Along those lines, they made it very, very clear. And that team is the New York Liberty.
But it's not just about talent. The Liberty operate like a well-oiled machine. They've invested in their players with first-class training facilities that make other teams look outdated. Compare that to the Indiana Fever, who've been widely criticized for their overall management. Sure, the Fever landed Caitlin Clark, but fans and analysts alike are calling them out for what seems to be a lack of long-term planning.
I think with everything with Caitlin Clark, because New York are getting they're getting their new facility. And I think she's probably looking at it and man, I'm cool averaging 15 a game, just getting a bunch of assists.
People aren't just questioning their ability to build around her. They're saying out loud that Caitlin might be too big of a star for them to handle. And there's the suspicion that they're more interested in using her fame to sell tickets than they are in building a winning team. And this contrast, you can't ignore it.
You're on notice. You better recognize what you've got going on, the asset in front of you, and you do whatever you have to do to correct what is happening.
Look at the Liberty. They've cultivated a culture of excellence where players are set up to thrive, individually and as a team. But in Indiana, Caitlin's already bumping into obstacles. She's been held back by poor officiating in games, yes, but also by the lack of high-level support she gets off the court.
She's going to be gone. I think there's a good chance. I think there's a good chance that Caitlin Clark is just you know what, this isn't for me. This isn't for me.
You've got a player whose game can change the entire league's narrative, yet her current team seems barely equipped to support her growth in the way a franchise like the Liberty can. Add to this all the chatter about her rookie experience, the controversies around officiating, physicality, and how it feels like Caitlin's been targeted on the court aren't exactly strengthening the Fever's case. There are already rumors bubbling up that she's not happy about the lack of protection she gets. And honestly, who could blame her?
I believe the Indiana Fever need a National Basketball Association coach handling this brand. All right? Because it's clear the organization's in way over their head. You saw it from Christine Brennan. They weren't expecting this.
If you go from putting up highlight reel plays to getting hacked with no calls on a weekly basis, it's not fun anymore. And while the Fever stay quiet on these issues, teams like the Liberty shine as the complete opposite. Analysts say it best. The Liberty don't just want big players, they know what to do when they get them. That says a lot.
These Stephanie White truthers, no surprise, she checks boxes. And they're the old WNBA fandom that thinks Stephanie White's getting a raw deal right now. It's so obvious she don't know what she's doing. She don't know what she's doing with this kind of talent.
If Caitlyn decides she's ready for a change, New York just feels inevitable. From the competitive roster to the organizational stability, they check every box. And if the Liberty bring her in, we're not just talking about a great team. We might be watching the foundation of the next WNBA dynasty come together right in front of us.
New York sent the blitz. Sandy, Sav, and Stewie are all talking to Caitlyn and her agent. And her agent, that is one of the most important things. They are talking to Caitlin Clark's agent. Not just talking to Caitlin Clark. They are talking to Caitlin Clark's agent.
Caitlin Clark's career in the WNBA is already setting records, but lately it feels like she's fighting battles that no player should have to deal with. At this point, the question isn't just about what team she may or may not end up on. It's about whether the league even knows how to protect its stars. And Caitlin is the perfect case study for what's been called a growing problem in the WNBA.
And said, look, you're effing around and you're finding out right now. There's a lot of talk out there, a lot of smoke. People talking. If Caitlyn doesn't play, a full-blown boycott of All-Star Weekend, of sending a message to the W that people won't tolerate.
From questionable officiating to excessive physicality, there's a feeling among fans and even some analysts that the league is, bluntly put, failing her. Let's start with the officiating. The reality is, games with Caitlyn often come with a level of physicality that raises some eyebrows. People have noticed for a while now, but it wasn't until recently that it reached the point where you can't ignore it anymore.
F around and find out. The WNBA kept playing with fire. Commissioner's worst nightmare is here. Fever's worst nightmare is here. All those people traveling to Indiana. Caitlyn is likely out for the All-Star game. Flagship weekend destroyed at NBA. W needs new leadership.
Fans argue that Clark is targeted by opponents, game after game, and the referees. They appear to just let it happen. This isn't coming out of nowhere either. One analyst flat out said, the brutalization of Clark has been going on for 18 months, and called it a league-wide issue. Even Stephanie White, her coach, reportedly knew last year that things were different for Caitlyn.
And you know what's weird is Stephanie White said they knew last year as the Sun that the refs were calling things differently against Caitlin Clark, and there was more physicality against Caitlin Clark. So this is league known.
White was aware that referees were letting players get away with extra physicality against her, and apparently the league did too. According to the same analyst, Kathy Engelbert knows this, and she's doing nothing about it. And it's not just Caitlyn. Aaliyah Boston and Sophie Cunningham have also been caught in the crossfire of this overly physical style of play, which some are saying is more of a trend than a coincidence.
And we can honestly say it, there's something against the Fever team as well. I mean, Aaliyah Boston and Sophie Cunningham just got murked the other night as well. They did.
As much as the league loves to promote its physical competition, there's a line somewhere, and it feels like the league's handle on enforcing it is, quite frankly, slipping. The analysts have been blunt about it too, saying, look, you're effing around and you're finding out right now, in reference to the WNBA's handling of Clark and others. Hearing that kind of sentiment is telling, especially when it's being shared on national platforms.
Got called out by Colin Cowherd yesterday on a national radio show. The largest radio show in sports called you out, that is also shown on Fox Sports 1. Called out the WNBA for the how they're handling Caitlin Clark.
The league is being called out loud and clear, not just by fans, but by pundits too. But what does all of this mean for Caitlin Clark herself? Here's the thing, she's only in her rookie year, and already people are wondering if she feels supported or abandoned. The broader fear here is that a talent like Clark might burn out or leave her team because of how poorly these issues are being handled.
And look, I'm starting to wonder if she won't end up actually playing. I think there's a chance she might play. Even if it's for like 12 minutes, I could see her going out there and trying to play. Now, whether or not she's going to be in the three-point contest, I don't know. If it was up to me, she would sit.
And what does that say for the WNBA as a whole? If the system can't support someone with the potential to define a generation of basketball, then what exactly are they doing? Fans and analysts alike are calling for change. Better officiating, clearer boundaries on what counts as acceptable physicality, maybe even a whole new approach to how players are brought into the league and treated.
A lot of people believe this is actually calculated. That the Fever, and the old WNBA is trying to sabotage Caitlin Clark's career. It would be the most absurd, baffling business decision in the history of planet Earth. I can't even wrap my brain around that. I really can't. I can't imagine.
Caitlin's rumored meeting with the Liberty might just push this issue further into the spotlight. Many are already saying that if she leaves the Fever, the league will only have itself to blame. And if she ends up thriving in New York, it could serve as the loudest wake-up call the league has ever gotten.
I can't even wrap my brain around that. I really can't. I can't imagine that these people are so petty. And you know what? They just may be. You may have some, you may have some rotten hens in the hen house right now.
This meeting wasn't just a casual courtside chat, it might be the spark that changes everything for Caitlin Clark and the WNBA. If the Liberty actually pull this off, are we about to witness the creation of the league's next super team? Or could this all highlight just how poorly the league is handling its brightest stars?
She's the biggest sports star in basketball. One could argue, okay, LeBron's hanging around. If you want to say LeBron, fine. Steph, okay, she's in the top 3 with Steph and LeBron, and in the WNBA, you better take a drone. I mean, you better pull back from 50,000 feet and see all the picture of what's going on right now.
The Indiana Fever might need to look in the mirror and ask how they've been protecting their biggest asset. One thing's for sure, this story is far from over. Stay tuned, because whatever happens next, the entire WNBA landscape could be flipped on its head.